For this vlog, I've got something a little bit different. It's part experiment and part education. And it's all to do with something that I'm about to start trying, which is a peptide called BPC-157. So I plan to document my experience with it. But first, you might be wondering, what even is a peptide? So let's start with the basics. A peptide is essentially a short chain of amino acids, like a mini protein. These chains can act like messengers in the body, signaling certain biological processes. Some regulate hormones and others can help with inflammation, metabolism and healing. Think of them like little keys that unlock certain processes within your body. Because your body already uses amino acids all the time, peptides can offer targeted effects with fewer side effects than traditional medications. So BPC-157 is one of these peptides. It stands for Body Protection Compound 157 and it's derived from a protein found in our gastric juices. Yes, your stomach makes a version of this. So it's a synthetic peptide, which means it's lab made, but it does mimic something that our body already uses to help protect and heal tissues. So as far as the science goes, here's what we know. Well, peptides are being studied like crazy right now, and there are FDA approved peptides in use, regular use, such as insulin, which means that using these things therapeutically isn't actually a radically new idea. And when it comes to BPC-157, it's still in the testing stage, and this has largely been done on animal studies. However, the results have been very promising. In rat models, BPC-157 has been shown to dramatically speed up the healing times of tendon, ligament, and other soft tissue injuries, even bone injuries. It's also been shown to protect and heal the digestive tract, things like inflammatory bowel syndrome, leaky gut, ulcers, which makes a lot of sense since it's derived from gastric juice in the first place. There's solid data showing that it reduces inflammation and can dramatically speed up the healing times of soft tissue injuries. And anecdotally, it's been reported to even help those suffering with chronic pain. And some studies show that it can even help with nerve regeneration and reducing the brain damage faced in trauma to rats. Poor rats in these studies. It's still early days for that part, but still, it's exciting. Now with this part, I want to be really clear. There have been very few human clinical trials, which means that it works in a certain way in animals, but we're not certain if it works the same way in humans. And this is why it's still experimental or off-label. And as always, this is not medical advice. This is me experimenting on myself in the same way that I've done with other modalities in the past and documenting that journey for your entertainment. So we've covered a bit of the science and a bit of the technical stuff, but why am I even doing this in the first place? Well, you might know that I'm keen to experiment with the different recovery modalities that I come across in my profession. I'm a sports therapist, soft tissue therapist, and I like to try the things that I recommend. Now, I'm probably reluctant to recommend something that's in its experimental stage, like BPC-157 or any other peptide. However, I'm keen to try it. I'm aware of its benefits. I've been reading about peptides for years now, and I've had a few patients that have come through saying very good things about BPC-157 in particular. With my job, it's very hands-on, and I also like to lift weights and I do calisthenics, and there's a lot of tension going through these hands and particularly these wrist flexors. I've been battling medial epicondylitis, golfer's elbow, for a number of years at this point. I'm fairly diligent with my rehabilitation. I'm very good with my soft tissue work and my soft tissue work. You've probably seen videos on this channel, but it dogs me. And it can get very painful and very irritable. And the problem is, like any inflammatory, chronic kind of overuse thing, when it gets inflamed and irritated, it's easier to irritate. So this is why I plan to experiment on myself with BPC-157. I will be injecting this peptide. You're watching this on YouTube, which means that you're not going to be able to see the whole video. You're not going to be able to see me doing the injections, and you're going to miss out on various bits. Now, that's fine. You'll still get my experience of the whole thing. But if you wanted to see the whole thing unfiltered, you can sign up for free to my Patreon page, which is patreon.com/muscledoctor. I'll probably go over about 4 weeks, which is the kind of recommended duration. I will be dosing it at 250 micrograms per day. And because I've not started yet, the advice is that you do it around the site of the injury, subcutaneous, so into body fat. The site of my injury is my elbow. There's a bit of flesh there, but that's going to be quite difficult to get a needle into. So I might try it if I'm feeling brave, but I think I'll probably go into subcutaneous body fat around the abdomen when I first start. So I will be accompanying this protocol with rehabilitative and remedial exercise, the same stuff that I've been doing. I will be trying not to change anything else. And ultimately, I'm trying to facilitate the repair of a chronically overused tendon, which is a tendinopathy. So I need to include the remedial exercise. Let's see if BPC-157 can help. Just tip it over the edge, give me some pain relief, and also help with the tissue repair in the long term. So there you have it. That's the backstory, and that's why I'll be using myself as a human guinea pig. I'll be approaching this like any other treatment strategy, with skepticism, interest, curiosity, structure, and research. And I'll be laying it out all in this vlog for you. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you've just missed the preparation of BPC-157, how to prepare it, how to get it all together, and the first injection. So I can't show you that on YouTube, but what I can tell you is where I'm at for a day one. So this is day one, first day of injection. It's going to be 30 days, thereabouts, so a month's worth. We're going to gauge at the beginning, some way throughout, and then again at the end. So where are we at? I'm very, very busy in clinic at the moment, working daily, I would say between 6 and 7 days a week. And if I'm not in here, I'm teaching, which involves hands-on as well. And then there's the calisthenics as well, which is a lot of handstands and things like that. I'm doing my rehab as well, so a lot of wrist flexor stretching, wrist flexor strengthening, finger flexor strengthening, which I found has helped quite a lot as well. But this week, yesterday and the day before, I experienced probably 8 or 9 out of 10 on the perceived pain scale as a result of treating. And there was actually one stage, loath to admit this, but I'm I'm 3/4 of the way through a treatment. And I'm looking at the clock, I'm thinking there's 15 minutes till I finish for the day. I don't know how I can get this done. That's the kind of state of affairs, pretty bad. So what did I do? I had naproxen a couple of days ago. It really helped get me through, but I don't want to rely on naproxen. And I'm doing my strengthening exercises and things like that. It's just overuse. It's just an uncommonly overused wrist flexor insertion into the medial epicondyle. So I'm suffering. I couldn't do the injection, site injection, as it's been recommended through a number of different resources and research and everything else. So I did it systemically in subcutaneous abdominal fat. So that's where we're at. We'll check back in a few days and see if we've noticed any impact on the injury. Okay, so it's day 10 and I've got a bit of an update for you and a little bit of a lesson learned. So something for me for the future, and if you decide to try this, then possibly for you. So first of all, update, I'm definitely feeling some difference, and I'm very aware of the placebo effect, and I'm coming into this skeptical and non-biased and expecting it not to work. But I can remember on the first video saying that I had 8 or 9 out of 10 pain, and I can remember that. You know, I can remember getting to the end of 15 minutes to go with one client and thinking, how am I going to do this? It's very hands-on work, that particular session. And it has been better, there's no doubt. Strangely, the left side was worse. That's feeling quite a lot better. But the right side, which was not quite as bad as the left, hasn't really changed. Which makes you think, is it because my mind is fully on the left side? Is that the placebo? I don't know. I think my method there is not to question it so much, because I don't want to ruin the placebo effect if it is that. But there are mechanisms at play, and who knows? If it's working, it's anecdotal, isn't it? The tip. So what I initially did was put, I have to have a look here close up. So on this syringe here, one of these, is literally the whole one of these is 100. So what I did initially was just put one of this in there. What that meant was, every time I wanted to take 1/10 of that out, which is what I wanted, because that's 5 milligrams and I wanted 0.5 milligrams, so 1/10 of whatever I put in there, that would only be up to, well, you can only see 20 and 30 there, but up to the 10, so it's one of those little increments, tiny, tiny, tiny. That was fine, because I thought the least I'm injecting, the better. But what that meant is when I got close to the bottom of the vial, it was very, very difficult to draw it out. So what I ended up doing was adding in another 1 mil on this. We're all learning on the job here. 1 mil extra in there, which now meant there was 2 mil in there, which now meant that every time I did an injection, I would take it down to the 20 instead of the 10. Slightly more sort of volume going into the subcutaneous layer. I didn't really notice it, it's fine. And it just meant that I was able to more easily get the stuff out of here than it just being a fraction, a little dribble at the bottom. So next time, when I reconstitute the next file, I think I might even go to 3, which is 3 mil syringes. So I might just go to the full 3 mil. That means that every time I get it out of here, it will be up to the 30, because that's 1/10. It doesn't really make much difference with the added volume going into the belly fat. Anyway, that's where we are. It's only day 10, and it's only a 30-day experiment anyway, so it's not even massively long. But I'm going to carry on optimistically and keep on with the rehab bits that I've been doing. Maybe not been so great with them, but then even more efficacy to what's been happening and the changes that have been made. Next check-in, day 20. See you then. So today marks day 30, which is the final day of my BPC-157 self-experiment. So conclusions, what did I gain from it? Well, I'm very, very aware of the placebo effect, and also all of the variables that have been changing constantly. So some of the variables, just to be completely upfront about it, I had a week off work over the past month. That also meant a week off calisthenics. Very minimal calisthenics along the way. So 2 things that really stress my wrist flexors and aggravate the medial epicondylitis. So there was that. The rehab probably remained about the same as what it was before. I wasn't that good with it, if I'm totally honest. That all said, I've been back at work for a week and a half after my trip away and my week off work. And the pain is nowhere near what it was. If it was an 8 or 9 out of 10 at times before, now it probably peaks around a 4 or 5. And that's not to be overlooked. I think that's huge. It's positively impacted me 100%. I'm able to do my work, I'm able to get more hands-on, and I've actually gotten out of the habit of thinking, I don't quite like that technique because I know that's going to hurt my elbows. So a positive. It's not been hurting after the calisthenics sessions either. So overall, it's got to be a positive. Side effects, who knows? I'll find out in a couple of decades when I start to grow the nubbin of a 3rd head or something like that. I really, really hope that there are more studies done on humans and that we get the kind of approval that we need to allow that to happen ethically. I have picked up another injury, which is a hamstring strain. That was caused by fairly aggressive stretching, failing to listen to the niggle, and then hoofing a football and feeling whatever the remainder of the hamstring tendon there was give way. I think it was probably a grade 2, looking at that bruising and feeling it. So I've gotten onto my rehab, don't worry. I should have been doing the rehab when I felt it go as a stretch, but I'm onto it. So I may resume the BPC-157 usage, just a case of ordering some more. Impossible to say whether it helps or not. We need randomized controlled trials, we need research studies, which requires funding and the ethics to allow you to do so. But my conclusion is I would absolutely use it again. I'm not going to convince you one way or the other to do so, but I really enjoy these self-experiments and I find them useful for me, obviously, practically, but also one of the best ways of learning about different things. So people ask me about BPC-157, I can tell them wholeheartedly about my experience, and that's what I've learned and everything that I've learned along the way. So I really hope that's been helpful for you in one way or another, and I look forward to the next crazy experiment that I could potentially try and turn into a vlog. Bye for now.